This Jimmy Butler trade situation or lack of trade situation is something I've never really seen before, and it keeps getting weirder and weirder. So let me walk you through the timeline, right? So this is December 10th. Shams Charania had his inside pass, and in this, he says the Heat are open to listening to offers for Butler and making a deal if the proposal is right. Butler's agent, Bernie Lee, has indicated in league circles that Butler is open to destinations such as the two Texas teams, the Houston Rockets and the Dallas Mavericks, and the Golden State Warriors. Teams have also been informed that Butler intends to opt out of his deal in the offseason and become a free agent. A day after that, Shams said, hold on, there's another team to the bunch. That team is the Phoenix Suns. But also that day, Bernie Lee, Jimmy Butler's agent, came out and said, oh, this is all BS. And he took some shots at Shams Charania. It was a pretty fun day on Twitter and all. But overall, Butler's camp is basically saying these are all lies. And then just like every other Christmas day, we get a new slop of a report from ESPN. And it is Shams Charania saying that the six-time NBA All-Star Jimmy Butler prefers a trade out of Miami ahead of the February 6th deadline. But even with that said, there's nothing in this article that is new information. It's basically the same stuff from December 10th, but we needed something to talk about to get us ready for the Christmas Day games, and this happened to be it. Nothing so far is too out of the ordinary. It's what happened next that really blew my mind. But before we talk about it, here's a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutritional goals easier by delivering fresh, never frozen food that is dietitian approved right to your doorstep. There are a lot of cool things about Factor, but my favorite is that there are so many options. Every single week you have a menu of 35 different meals. When you have that much variety, it is hard not to find something that is interesting to you. They also have different categories like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. On top of those 35 different meals, they also have up to 60 different add-ons, from breakfast to snacks to smoothies. The options are endless. And then I mentioned it is extremely easy and extremely fast to get those meals done. So it's lunchtime. We got a cavatappi and Italian-style pork ragu. All I gotta do is take it out the sleeve and just poke it with a bunch of holes. Then you pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes. So all done. Took 2 minutes and it looks delicious. They hooked me up with a sponsorship so you can get a deal. All you need to do is use code Kenny50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off the next month order. That is an absolute steal. I want to say shout out to Factor again for sponsoring another video. Statement from Pat Riley: we usually don't comment on rumors, but all this speculation has become a distraction to the team and is not fair to the players and the coaches. Therefore, we will make it clear: we are not trading Jimmy Butler. That is wild to me because, like he said in his statement, we usually don't comment on rumors. Hell, many front offices don't usually comment on rumors because at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's just stuff for NBA fans to get excited about. But you just don't see this often. Pat Riley had a presser and he said all these comments saying, no. Not only am I talking to y'all in this room, because I know a lot of people are not watching this press conference, go tweet it from the official Miami Heat account. We are not trading Jimmy Butler. You just don't see that, man. You just don't see a team plant their flag or front office plant their flag that definite this early in the season. So that really got me thinking about why Pat Riley said this. Was this always the case? Was there never a world where he was going to consider trading Jimmy Butler? Well, this is from 8 months ago. Pat Riley, when asked if he would consider trading Jimmy Butler, one-word answer, no. So maybe that has always been the case. Or maybe it was the fact that trading a player like Jimmy Butler in today's day and age is just so damn hard. Maybe they did listen to all of these calls and try to get it where Jimmy Butler was going to one of his preferred destinations and recognize with the second apron, it's practically impossible to pull off a Jimmy Butler trade. Yeah, we sat on this channel and reacted to articles that had Jimmy trades to the Lakers, Jimmy trades to the Golden State Warriors and all these other teams, but that just feels super unlikely. So now that they maybe come to the realization that that trade is just not happening, okay, let's stop it. Let's cut all the rumors out of the way and just say no. But these fake Jimmy Butler trades or these things are not very new. I think they started around here. Barry Jackson had to report, Riley said Heat will need to give a lot of thought if Jimmy Butler asks for an extension in July as expected, unless you have someone who's really going to be available every single night, Riley said. And whoa, that's a lot of conversations about your best player, right? And we can all agree that Jimmy Butler is not readily available like he was early in his career. Hell, as of today, he turned his ankle like a week ago and now he's out with a stomach virus. I don't understand it, but Jimmy Butler just does miss time often. It's just a reality. And then you got this report. Like, it just feels like there might be some friction with Riley and Jimmy Butler. Riley asked about Butler trolling the Celtics when he couldn't play in the series. If you're not on the court playing, you should keep your mouth shut. And you know what? though I love Jimmy Butler, he's one of my favorite players of all time, and I love that we have a player in the league that is willing to talk trash. I'm with Riley on this one. You can't be talking trash where you're not really there, because it defeats the purpose of it. Now Tyler Hero got to go out there against the Celtics because you was talking trash and they got that animosity towards Tyler. No, that's not cool. So I agree with Riley on this one, but it always feels like Riley has a comment here or there, and you can argue that that's their relationship, right? Jimmy Butler has flamed out in a couple different locations like Minnesota or like the 76ers because people weren't keeping it real. Maybe this is just their relationship and Jimmy doesn't find no harm in these comments. Maybe. But things do get really interesting, right? When I was growing up, there was this thing that we used to call financial loyalty. When you have a guy that's been on your roster for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and whether that time has been championships or not, you kind of felt obligated to pay that player for their loyalty. He might have been later in his career, but damn it, he's been here for so very long. The fan base loves him. Let's give him that bag. Pat Riley and them very early on was like, that's not really who we are. And that's how Dwayne Wade ended up in Chicago out of all places. But I look at Jimmy Butler and think about him declining that player option. And though there were times in my life where I used to say, cap space is an illusion, I don't think that's the case anymore. With the second apron, I don't know. Like, Jimmy Butler even getting to Miami is part of that argument. They didn't have the money to get Jimmy Butler, but they made the necessary trades where now Jimmy Butler wants to come here, we make that happen. With the second apron, trades are just not as plentiful as they used to be to make me feel like cap space is not real. And then you look at the teams that do have cap space. You got the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know what the hell they're going to do this offseason. They're doing the right thing right now as of like losing some games here or there, even though I did see a clip from last night where Bobby Portis doubled Ben Simmons 27 feet away from the basket and left Cam Johnson wide open for three, and they won that game. Either way, they're doing the right thing, trying to sell their pieces to be bad now, but like they have a potential $77 million in cap space. Are they going to use that to go get a guy like Jimmy Butler? You had the Washington Wizards who can have up to $40 million in cap space. That doesn't feel like a good fit. The Pelicans at 33. Hell, Jimmy Butler's declining 50. He's declining 50, so that 33 might not be it. So where is the Jimmy Butler location if he opts out? And you also have to consider this. Jimmy Butler will be 36 years old at the start of next season, and this year he's only averaging 18 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting it fairly well. This has been one of his most efficient years of his entire career. But like, I don't know if teams are going to be lining up to pay a 36-year-old guy who feels like he has been somewhat declining over the last couple of years, the amount of money that he thinks he's worth. And here again, I'm a Jimmy Butler super fan. Like, there are times this year where I've just been straight up frustrated with his lack of effort or lack of impact on these games. And there's other nights you're like, there he goes. That's the Jimmy Butler that every team would be interested in, but you're just not getting it on a night-to-night basis. And listen, on this channel, maybe you watching this video, we love player movement, but I just don't feel like the Jimmy Butler player movement thing is going to be real. Like, I would bet a good amount of money that Jimmy Butler is not just finishing this season on his roster, but going to be on the roster next year as well. Unless Jimmy is willing to take a big pay cut, which that doesn't feel like a likelihood based on all of the comments we've read from everybody. And again, we add this second apron thing, which as of today, I'm not a huge fan of. I think it probably would take years before the league evens out and then it becomes something that is pretty worthy. But because of the second apron and because players are better now at old age compared to previous generations, I just feel like it's going to be increasingly harder to figure out what a 35-year-old star is worth. Do we want to pay? Like, here's an example. In the playoffs this season, Paul George returned 35 years old. This year, Paul George is averaging 16, 6, and 5. His efficiency is down and so on and so forth. The Philadelphia 76ers were a team that recognized the risk in paying a near 35-year-old aging star, but they thought that even if we get 2 years of real Paul George, that'll be worth it. I just don't know if teams are going to be willing to take that much of a risk, even though these players are getting better throughout their careers. Like, some of the all-time greats, of course, play great through their 30s. Like Tim Duncan made an all-star game at 36. Jason Kidd made an all-star game at 35 and 36. But a lot of players that I grew up loving by the age of 35, 36, we were looking at them like, oh man, it might be time to stop lacing them up. So I just don't know what happens with Jimmy Butler. I feel like we're going to get some more slop soon, some more rumors about Jimmy, and I don't think it'll ever really stop. But I do want to say this before I get out of here. I think ring culture has destroyed the mind of like 70% of NBA fandom. Like 70% of NBA fandom has just, the brain has just got so smooth because of ring culture, bro. So a couple days back, I made this tweet when Shams Charania had his whole thing saying that Jimmy Butler would prefer a trade, yada, yada, yada. I said, how will Jimmy Butler Heat era be remembered? And while a lot of people would agree with a guy like Swiper, a better player they've had since Bron took them to 2 finals with underwhelming roster and elite coaching. While 4,000 people agree with that, I definitely don't want to send no negative energy to nobody. There are a lot of people that looked at this Jimmy Butler era in Miami and felt like it was underwhelming because he didn't win a ring. Are y'all serious? Bro, I will never understand it. I don't even know where ring culture became the thing that like we can't appreciate a great stance of basketball because a person didn't raise the Larry O.B. It has never made sense to me. Basketball is a team sport with the 15 players that's suiting up and then the 7 coaches and then the people in the front office. You know how hard it is to win? According to Basketball Reference Game Score Tool, this is not a perfect science, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of Game Score Tool, but we'll talk about it for today's case. Butler is already responsible for 7 of the 10 best playoff outings in Miami Heat franchise history. Reminder, the Miami Heat had fucking LeBron James on his team for 4 years and Dwayne Wade on his team for 15. Jimmy Butler has 7 of the 10 best performances by a Miami Heat playoff performer. Game 6 of the conference finals, 47-9-8, 4 steals. Game 3 of the NBA Finals, 40-11-13. Game 5, 35-12-11. When this brother bent over the stanchion because he was so tired, that was real. He was doing everything. And last reminder, there's only 6 1-8 upsets in the history of basketball, and damn it, I'm not counting one of them because Derrick Rose tore his ACL. Jimmy Butler in this series, Game 4 of this series, Jimmy Butler did this. 56. Matter of fact, let's see him. I don't even got to read. 56. And what did he do next game? Oh, I'll show you what he did next game. He had 42 in the closeout. Are we being real? One of the best individual playoff performers of our lifetime. And because he doesn't have a ring, there's a percentage of NBA fandom that won't respect this tenure with the Miami Heat, or maybe won't respect his career as a whole because he has 0 NBA championships. When the reality is Jimmy Butler is a fucking dog.